Feliz cumpleaños a Nuevo Mexico. Welcome everyone to the 6th annual Hispanic Heritage Month kickoff for the city, county, and state of our wonderful state of New Mexico. My name is Jennifer Gomez Chavez, and I have the distinct honor to serve as one of the chairs for the Hispanic Heritage Committee. This wonderful committee has been together since 2007, and it was that year that we had our first ever press conference right here in Old Town. And I can tell you that today I am truly honored and excited and just thrilled to see everybody here and to have some wonderful leaders of our state who are here to share with us and continue to inspire the wonderful culture and history that we all share together. Before we get started, I want to recognize, where did our entertainment go? The wonderful Frank and James Chavez playing music from the turn of the century. Thank you so much. I also want to recognize the wonderful committee members who have worked so hard for the last 6 years together so that we can collaborate, leverage resources, work as a community with one goal in mind, and that is to celebrate and preserve our culture. It doesn't matter what team we root for, what political decisions we make, what religious backgrounds we have, but what keeps us together is knowing the beautiful culture that is represented by each one of us and by our wonderful state. So with those individuals, please stand at this time. This committee is represented by nonprofit organizations, by businesses, by educational institutions, and I can tell you that they certainly are committed to this effort. I also want to recognize some guests that we have that is truly making today very special, and those are our centenarians. These are individuals who have been in our state for 100 years. Cora Romero, originally from Taos, but now living in Albuquerque, right here in the front. Cora, thank you so much. Rose Zamora, who is from Old Town, an Old Town resident. She's in the middle here, thank you. Mr. Tony Garcia, who is in the back corner. And Tony still resides here in Albuquerque. Thank you so much for your lifelong commitment to your family and your community, and we're so honored to have you here today. So let's get started. We have a wonderful agenda filled with amazing speakers to celebrate this wonderful celebration. We have a calendar of events that we're kicking off, so we hope that everybody has the opportunity to take one back and share. A lot of these events are open and free to the public. We want to also thank our amazing sponsors, including the City of Albuquerque Cultural Services. I want to give a round of applause to Chuy Martinez and Isabel Zamora and Miss Betty Rivera for having a wonderful department who is always helping the community. So thank you so much. Casa de Fiesta Mexican Grill. They're in the back. We're going to have a luncheon right after. Thank you to Ted Martinez and his team. Cordova Public Relations. Thank you, John Cordova, for helping us get the word out. Express Package and Postal Services, Mitch Landavaso for helping us put our press kits together. Thank you, Mitch. The National Hispanic Cultural Center, who is a major sponsor. What I didn't mention is that this is a kickoff to a 3-day weekend. This is our first ever 3-day weekend kickoff to Hispanic Heritage Month in collaboration with the city, the county, and the state. And so we're thrilled about that. And the National Hispanic Cultural Center has been a very vital part in that. And of course, Mas, New Mexico. Thank you, Clara Padilla Andrews and her team, Jesse Lopez and Nidalia Lechugatena, for putting the wonderful special edition in the calendar of events for us. Thank you so much. Individuals I'd like to recognize as well is representing Congressman Tom Udall's office is Bill Waldman. Can you please stand, Bill, to be recognized? Thank you. Mr. Patrick Duran is joining us from Congressman Ben Ray Lujan's office and also serves on the Hispanic Heritage Committee. Thank you, Patrick. Mrs. Crystal Romero from Congressman Martin Heinrich's office. Thank you so much, Crystal. And if there are any other individuals that I failed to recognize, please let me know. Well, as I said before, this is our 6th press conference, and it always takes great leadership within your own city to support the concept, to support a committee that oftentimes wants to do extraordinary things. And I can tell you that Mayor Richard Berry, since he became mayor, we met with him and we said, look, Mayor, we have been doing this press conference and we've had this committee in our city for a couple of years before you got here. Would you adopt us? Would you continue to work with us? And without a doubt, our mayor has been amazing. He is supportive, and I can tell you he has never missed a press conference since he became our mayor of the city of Albuquerque. And to me, that is a big commitment, so thank you so much. And of course, I'm one of his biggest fans because he's a former athlete of the university, as we all know, and so he's also continued to support the university. So thank you, Mayor. Okay, so with that said, let's welcome to the podium to kick us off our wonderful Mayor, Richard Berry.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you so much. Former athlete, I think, is the proper term. Governor, great to see you.
Thank you. Nice
Great to see everybody. Mr. Consul from Mexico, thank you. We have a great opportunity coming up here in a little while. Mauricio is working with us to have my first as a mayor, opportunity to go to Mexico. We're going to go to Mexico City. We're going to go to Guadalajara. We're going to take local business people with us, and you've been so instrumental in helping us, and you've been such a good friend. And you have such a great family. We just appreciate you in our community and everything that you're doing, so thank you so much. Well, congratulations, everybody, for being here today. This is my 3rd opportunity to come and celebrate the start of Hispanic Heritage Month. And I've told this story a little bit before, but for me, Hispanic Heritage Month is kind of every month. I'm married into this really awesome family, and my father-in-law, Ed Medina, has worked with my son, Jacob, since he was old enough to talk and walk. And he is somewhat of a historian, actually more than somewhat of an historian, and he has a wonderful opportunity to teach my son and the next generation about Hispanic culture. His dad was, Juan Medina was one time the editor of the New Mexico Santa Fe newspaper when they had a Spanish edition. So we have a great advantage in our family of being able to kind of celebrate this all day, every day, and we certainly do that. I also want to thank again the musicians. Gosh, that was wonderful. Let's give them a hand again. They did a wonderful job. And of course, to Chewy and Isabel, you guys really make Old Town special. You guys do great work. If you have never met, Chewy's right here. Isabel's back there in the red dress. They do such a wonderful job. And the Old Town merchants. I mean, we have a great place to celebrate because we have people who risk their capital, who have family businesses all around the plaza here, and we always want to talk to people about coming to Old Town. It's a great place for tourists to come, but it's also a great place for us as New Mexicans and people that live in Albuquerque to come and really celebrate. We have a lot to celebrate this month. We have lots of events here in Old Town, and I really want to thank the committee for really making this from September 15th to October 15th, really making this very, very special. It's important for us, as I said earlier, as people that live here and who are building our businesses and raising families here, to have this, and it adds so much, and it dovetails in with all of the other great events that go on in the city of Albuquerque, and we're certainly doing great things here in Old Town as well. I know we have a lot of speakers today, so I don't want to make this too long. I want to really get on to introducing our governor. I have been in elected office now. I never thought I'd be in politics, frankly. When I got into my 40s, I wanted to get a chance to give back and to serve. So I spent 2 terms in the state legislature before I had this, beautiful blessing of being the mayor of really, I think, the greatest city in America. And I've got a chance to work with, give yourselves a hand. And it's a very humbling experience. When you get a chance to be a public servant, if you're doing it right, you ought to be humbled, because there are so many things that we see and deal with every day. And I've had so many opportunities as a mayor to meet people and do things that I never would have gotten a chance to do if I didn't have this opportunity. And one of those opportunities is the chance to work with other elected officials. And I've worked with great elected officials in the legislature and now as the mayor of Albuquerque. Great Democrats, great Republicans, great independents, just people that really want to serve. And I think I've really become adept at cutting to the chase and seeing what a public servant looks like, and that's what our governor looks like. Our governor looks like, acts like a public servant, and that may sound like a small thing, but you see enough of it where that doesn't happen. And I think Jennifer hit it right in the head. We can have different philosophies, we can have different backgrounds, different beliefs. That's not really, at the end of the day, what matters. What matters is we're trying to move ourselves forward, and we have a governor that's doing that. Not only is she showing leadership in many different ways as the first Latina governor in the United States of America, I think that shows leadership from our state that no other state can claim. And so we ought to be very, very, very proud of that. And we're very proud of you, Governor. So with that, Governor Susana Martinez.
Because you're so tall, I get a little boost up here. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for including me. It is wonderful to be here and to participate in this celebration, and to our centenarians. Happy birthday and a great celebration. I had the opportunity to visit with 2 of you. How amazing to have you here. This is the history and all that you bring, all the just the history of New Mexico that you know and share with your children and grandchildren, and hopefully with many more youngsters, because some of us, there's a lot that we miss out on, and having you here is a blessing. So thank you, and thank you, Mayor Berry, for all that you do. And it's certainly an honor to be here for the Hispanic Heritage Month here in Albuquerque. Because, our culture is absolutely so rich and rooted in tradition and in history. It's reflected in our faith that we share, the values that we hold, and the heritage that we cherish so very much. And what a fitting theme for the 2012 National Hispanic Heritage Month. Diversity United, building America's future today. I believe that we are united in vision, in hope, and in the belief that together we can make New Mexico a better place to live, to work, and to chase our future dreams. The enduring legacy of our culture is visible in our everyday lives, evidenced in our geography, our architecture. Just look around. The art, language, food, and most of all, the deep sense of identity that we treasure within New Mexico's greater Hispanic community. And this month is set aside for us to pause and to reflect upon just how far we have come. In many cases, our success was made possible by the sacrifices made by the generations before us. It's because of their courage and our hard work and belief that anything was possible and any dream is within reach that Hispanics here in New Mexico and across the country are achieving what was once considered impossible. In a lot of ways, my story isn't unique. Just like many of you, my family didn't have a lot of money, but as a young girl, my parents always told me that my future would never be determined by the color of my skin. Instead, mine would be a destiny defined by commitment to hard work and to serve those around me. I knew that my dreams were within reach if I pursued them with discipline and dedication. And so I chased them. So as we continue to break glass ceilings, it is important that we maintain a firm grasp on what we are, the values that define us, who we are, and the contributions of our rich cultural tapestry. Our nation has been blessed by the accomplishments of many notable Hispanics throughout the course of history. New Mexico, Ezequiel Cabeza de Vaca became the first Hispanic governor in the United States. New Mexico, Octaviano Larazolo was the first Hispanic elected to serve in the United States Senate. Congressman Manuel Luján went on to become the U.S. Secretary of the Interior. Many Hispanics that we are proud of. Hispanics from across the country serve in prominent positions across the spectrum, serving in key posts within presidential administrations and Congress, furthering the human rights movement, finding success as authors and artists, scientists, educators, and much, much more. As I said earlier, many Hispanics have achieved beyond what the last generation dared to imagine. And within these triumphs come great responsibility. The responsibility for us to pave the path for the future generation. To give them not only role models while they are young, but to live a life worthy of imitation. For them to pattern after, so they can make their own discoveries and leave their own imprints in history. And what better time to consider this than the centennial of New Mexico statehood? What better time to, without thoughtful deliberation, chart the course for the next generation in the next 100 years? In my opinion, there's no greater priority than making sure we lay the foundation for our children's success. That means we need to concentrate and reform our education. You know how passionate I am about the education of our children. And I will never stop fighting for our kids so that they have a better life than we have. And it is important that we pave that path for them. From day one, on the job, I pledged to do what it takes to make sure that our kids have every resource they need to carve out for themselves a prosperous future, full of opportunity. And while I'm proud of the steps we've already taken towards this goal, there's still much to do and a lot of work to be done, especially if we are to close the achievement gap that so many people talk about. Let me tell you a story about a school in Anthony, New Mexico. You all know where Anthony, New Mexico is? Down in the southern part of the state, by the border, Texas and Mexico, and it's the southern part of New Mexico. There's a school, Anthony Elementary, and that school is 100% Hispanic, and 100% of the children receive free lunch or are eligible for a reduced lunch. And that school received an A grade for how well they're doing in that school. And the principal, and it is the wonderful principal, Linda Perez, who has worked hard over the last 3 years to instill a can-do culture throughout that school. Even though students often come to school without supplies or having their basic needs met. they're still an A school. She says that most of her kids live in little rented trailers or government housing. But she says, if we make excuses for them, that's all they're going to have their whole lives. And I couldn't agree with her more. No more excuses. Anthony is a great example of the good work of our teachers and leaders and what they're doing to improve the quality of education for their students. I have no doubt that if we continue to push hard to reform the status quo, if we refuse to accept failing as a way of life, we will close the achievement gap. Our children will learn, and they will understand that we worked hard for them so that they can chase their dreams and be whatever it is they want to be in life. And so I will continue to work hard for those kids, because at the end of the day, the path that we pave, they will follow. So we must make it a good one that is done with dignity and commitment, one that is done for them and not for ourselves, because that is what is meant by being a public servant. That is why paving this path is so important to me, and making sure those little girls that are looking up and recognize who I am and know that I'm fighting for them. Just yesterday, I bumped into a little 10-year-old girl. She came up to me, I was at a meeting, she came up to me, she goes, I want to talk to you about my grandpa. He drives on this road between Hobbs and Eunice every day, and it's really narrow, and I want to know what you can do about it. And she knew, and she wasn't ashamed, she wasn't embarrassed, she had the courage to come up and say, and he almost got into 3 accidents, and I really want something done about that road. And that is what we want. We want to give them the ability and the courage to come up and to be part of the solution and to say, hey, I've got a complaint, I've got a concern. And so that's why every time I say, being the first Hispanic female governor in the country, with it comes enormous responsibilities. Because there are those little girls that if I don't do this right, it'll be a path that they will not want to follow. And it is important to me that I do this right for them, so that at the end of the day, they say, that's where I want to go and beyond. Thank you. God bless you. Que Dios los bendiga.
Thank you both, Mayor and Governor, for serving our city and our state. And I can tell you, as I failed to tell folks that my job, I have like 20 of them, because I also have, different passions. But my real professional job is I serve as the Director of Student Academic Success for the University of New Mexico. I also serve as director of the new Lumina grant that we got to increase Latino student success under the Division for Equity and Inclusion. And we are right there with you, Governor. We're right there trying to figure out how we're going to change our education around and provide more opportunities. So thank you so much. Wonderful. Well, I forgot to mention a couple people that I definitely want to recognize who have joined us here today. From the University of New Mexico, serving as Vice President for the Division of Equity and Inclusion, Dr. Josie De Leon. The statewide executive director and also assistant dean of graduate studies at the University of New Mexico, Dr. Lawrence Roybal, who's the Enlace. Everybody knows Dr. Roybal through Enlace, New Mexico. The president of MANA, Ms. Marta Medina. Marta. The state director of LULAC, New Mexico, Mr. Ralph Arellanes. I think Ralph just joined us. Ralph. Of course, the CEO and president of the Albuquerque Hispano Chamber of Commerce, Alex O. Romero. And I have to introduce my mom, Moni Gomez. I'm originally from Hagerman, New Mexico, graduated from Artesia High School, but it was her and my grandmother, who is 90, who inspired me to continue to to learn about my history and also be committed to sustaining our culture. So thank you, Mom. I love you. Thank you. With that said, I also want to bring up our next wonderful partner. And as I said, leadership in our community makes everything possible. And with the Consulate of Mexico, we've gone through one consulate and now we have another consul. And so thank you, Mauricio Ibarra de Ponce de Leon, for your wonderful partnership, leadership in the community, especially your wonderful leadership in the community. We are so grateful that you're here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. First, let me say that it's a pleasure for me to be here today, especially among such distinguished public officials and New Mexicans, to celebrate the 6th Hispanic Heritage Month in New Mexico, especially since this year is taking place in the framework of the celebration of the centennial of this beautiful state. So thank you. Second, I would like to recognize Governor Susana Martinez for her valuable efforts in promoting Hispanic heritage throughout New Mexico. Mayor Richard Berry for his great support and for hosting this beautiful event. And Jennifer Gomez Chavez and the members of the Hispanic Heritage Committee, which includes such good friends as Alex Romero, President of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, among others. Also, I would like to sincerely congratulate the state of New Mexico, the county of Bernalillo, and the city of Albuquerque for joining efforts and collaborating in this special celebration. September is a month with a very particular meaning. Why? Because we are celebrating the start of the Hispanic Heritage Month, but also because it's Mexico Independence Day on the 16th. These celebrations strengthen the bonds that unite Mexicans and New Mexicans, because it's not only geography that unites us, but more importantly, people with common heritage, tradition, principles, and aspirations for the future. Let me underscore that New Mexico truly embodies our shared binational heritage. It is not surprising that this state has historically been a place that embraces diverse cultural roots, especially Hispanic. Without a doubt, it's truly an example of how different cultures and origins can coexist in harmony. I believe that in order to have greater aspirations, it is important to know first where you came from, and second, where you want to go from here. Therefore, heritage has no relevance if, as a community, we don't celebrate it, cherish it, and pass it on to the next generations. Considering that 46% of New Mexico's population is Hispano or Latino, the existence of a united and prosperous Hispano community, without a doubt, gives a strength to New Mexico, a strength which should be encouraged, cherished, and widely recognized. Finally, I would like to reiterate my congratulations to the Hispanic Heritage Committee for not only giving us this opportunity to celebrate and enjoy our common heritage, but also for giving us a forum where we can reflect together on what we as Hispanos can do to achieve the future that we desire. Thank you very much y muchas felicidades a la comunidad hispana de Nuevo México. Gracias.
Muchas gracias, Consul. Next up, we have our keynote from Elisa Sanchez, and my grandmother taught me an important dicho that says, lo más imposible es lo más posible. The most impossible thing is actually the most possible thing. In reading about Ms. Sanchez, it brought me to that quote. So without further ado, let's welcome Ms. Elisa Sanchez, who's a national community activist and who has served on many, many different national and local state committees. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Buenos días, mi comunidad. Estamos muy calladitos. Yo sé que nosotros no somos así. Oyes, no oí las mañanitas para celebrar los cumpleaños. Ahorita cantamos, ándale pues, así me gusta. I am delighted to have the opportunity to share a few words with you. Wow, what a couple of weeks. We've just gone through 2 national political conventions. 1,000 years after the Pueblo Indians had set up their presence around Santa Fe, 400 years after a Spanish-Mexican group established Santa Fe as a European-style government and capital, 100 years after we became a state, our governor hit prime time. Governor, you did a great job, thank you. Pero buena suerte que somos pacientes. Porque miren, todo este gray hair, ya me faltaba. Ay, great job, great job. But we know, we're not fooled. We know why they love us so much all of a sudden. What do they want? Both sides. Our vote. It's a valuable piece of property, guys, and we can't give it away cheaply. The talking heads, I thought, were very interesting. They could hardly contain themselves at this incredible display of diversity. In my opinion, it was only a diversito. It doesn't really even come up to a real diversity. But anyway, something is something, ¿verdad? Dijo el diablo. One thing I am sure is that hearing our representatives up there on a national stage speaking Spanish probably curled a few toes. Sadly, in this country, as much as we give lip service to the value of diversity, to a large extent, we are still not considered and thus excluded almost everywhere. Our theme today is Diversity United, Building America's Future Today. We are that future. But in reality, we have always been that future. We have been the builders and the workers. As white America ages, it is being replaced by a young Latino population everywhere. Truly, if the development of and understanding of our community is absolutely in the best interest of this country. In order to build anything, much less a future, we have to have a strong foundation. And that is what I am going to talk to you about today. A foundation means knowing who we are and who we are not. We are not white, we're not black, we're not red, and we're not yellow. We are all of the above in different percentages. We are multicultural and multiracial. We are Diversity United. This fusion, and our good counsel made reference to it. If we look around, this fusion of cultures, of races, has fueled an incredible music, cuisine, literature, and art across our hemisphere. We are not afraid to add, to take away, to borrow new things in order to enrich who we are and to enrich others. We are not newcomers. Some of our ancestors walked across the Bering Strait during the Ice Age, and other ancestors climbed on rickety boats and crossed an ocean looking for a better life, fleeing persecution, and yes, some of those ancestors came with the wrong intentions, greed. Our ancestors, though, were visionaries. They had a vision of what they wanted to accomplish. They took risk, and they understood that success meant working together, communally, to accomplish a goal. These characteristics are a part of our DNA, and to not respect and to live up and not live up to them is to dishonor the sacrifice and commitment that those that came before us made to better their lives and thus ours. We are not foreign. We are uniquely American. We have been here since the last ice age. That many people in this country are still unaware of of this fact is because there is an east-west, black-white paradigm that rules. And it fuels a misconception, as it did that of the US Congress in our 60-year march to statehood 100 years ago, that we are different, that we are foreign. Look south. Look into the deep history of our communities to get a true picture of who we are and what we contribute daily. We do not speak a foreign language. We are bilingual, and many of us are multilingual, which allows us to better communicate and understand a wide variety of people. I have traveled all over the world, and the fact that I can speak 2 languages well makes it easier to learn other languages and to understand and appreciate the countries that I am visiting and the people that I am meeting. People are now moving to China so that their kids can learn Chinese. Yet we come to the public school system and they want to take away our Spanish. Spanish is not just a language, it's also a brain skill that allows you to learn other languages. And that skill to understand and to speak other languages is more and more important as the world gets smaller. We are not freeloaders. We work 2 or 3 jobs to support our families. We pick crops in the blazing sun and are often exposed to pesticides and inhumane conditions. And despite that, we show up for work every day and give it our best. I would describe that as a strong work ethic. We also pay taxes and are making investments in our country by buying homes and automobiles and participating in the economy. We are not invisible. We are governors, we are college presidents, we are superintendents of schools, teachers, mayors, governors, astronauts. We have astronauts. Some of our people have been up there. Janitors, babysitters, and house cleaners. We are women who took over the picket line in Fierro, New Mexico, and held it for almost a year in rain, snow, and heat, and defied McCarthyism to help tell our story in a blacklisted film, Salt of the Earth. A movie declared by the Smithsonian Institution as one of the 100 most important films to be preserved for posterity. We contribute daily to building this country, and we are everywhere. We are also those Latinas who are building and creating companies and hiring people in huge numbers. We're not trying to change US culture and values, but we do want our strengths and our values to be respected and accepted into making this a stronger and richer country. These events of the past 2 weeks portend an opportunity for us, and it's crucial to those 50 organizations that are here represented that we do not let this prospect get away from us. Both political parties need and want our vote, yet under the guise of voter fraud, which by and large is almost non-existent, there are efforts to place obstacles to voting. Isn't it amazing that those efforts have become more pronounced in areas of increasing Latino populations? Most importantly, that fight was fought and won by the Black community, the right to vote. Why are we back there visiting that issue again? There are 8 million Latinos voting. Our vote makes a difference, and all of us should be working to register and educate new and lots of new voters. Never has it been more important. Our ancestors came here looking for a better life. In the current context, that includes being responsible citizens by registering to vote, learning about the issues, and making our voice heard by voting. Although there is an increasing number of entering university students, the achievement and graduation rate of Latinos demands action on our part. Several years ago, I read a book titled Cold Anger by Ernie Cortez. He was a community organizer in Texas. In it, he argues that without anger and passion, nothing substantive ever happens. No change will occur. But there are different kinds of anger. One is a hot anger, like that white hot flame that we turn up when we're cooking. That scorches our food and scares the heck out of everybody. And then there's cold anger. It is like that blue flame that we lower down when we lower down that flame, that we can control and cook better. That's the kind of cold anger that we need to nurture right now as it relates to public education. There is nothing wrong with this anger, and we should not be afraid of it because it will drive the change needed for our young people to succeed. One of my very good friends advised me, "Ay, Elisa, don't come across as an angry old woman." Another friend of mine told me, "Ay, Elisa, don't come across as an angry Mexican." What will we do with that, good friends? Well, the truth is, folks, I am both. Soy una vieja mexicana enojada. And that's when it comes to the future of our young people in our state. I cannot understand how we have accepted for generations that our children should be a casualty of the system. How New Mexico can be at the bottom of the scale in so many characteristics when we are so great. We've accepted that. And it's time that we did something about it. I have been a teacher. I have been in the classroom. I have been an educational activist, advocate and an activist, beginning at my mother's side at the age of 10 when I marched with her in that picket line I just described. And yes, my activism has been stoked by anger. Cold anger and passion. I know what an education means and what it can give you and how without it, so many of our young families and young people are destined to low-paying jobs and poverty. Why? Because we are unable to come up with a way to develop their skills? Creative change is what the public education system needs in the state. If it is serious about preparing our young people for the future, New Mexico should be a leader. We should have a vision. We should risk, not be a sad example of what other states have been or will be. In the final analysis, this is it. These are the children we have, not the children we wish we had. I want to end my comments with my favorite poem, and it goes like this. "Come to the edge," he said. And they said, "We're afraid." "Come to the edge," he said. And they came. And he pushed them. And they flew. Are we in New Mexico afraid to come to the edge? Does it take another 100 years? Or will we take the risk and truly fly? Gracias.
Thank you, Elisa, for your inspiring words. Well, now we're going to kind of break this up before we honor the centenarians with an important musician that is part of our community. Guillermo Figueroa is a music director, was a music director both the New Mexico Symphony and the music director of the Figueroa Project. He has been principal guest conductor of the Puerto Rico Symphony, with whom he performed to critical acclaim at Carnegie Hall in 2003 and the Kennedy Center in 2004, and in Spain in 2005. Without further ado, let's bring in
Thank you very much.
Señor Figueroa.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's an honor to be here, Mayor Berry, Governor Martinez. In honor of Hispanic Day, I will play a tango, an Argentinian tango by the great composer Astor Piazzolla. Thank you very much.
Okay, at this time, we're going to move the agenda a little bit around, and I'm going to ask Rosemary Garcia, who's representing the National Hispanic Cultural Center, also Patricia Chavez, who is the president of PLC Enterprises, and Chuy Martinez with Albuquerque City of Cultural Services, and we are going to present and award our centenarians at this time.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. I'm also representing our wonderful governor, Susana Martinez, on the New Mexico Commission for Community Volunteerism. So it gives me great pride, great pleasure to let you know about the medallions that we're presenting to our three centenarians. The city center honoring the centennial, the Albuquerque Cultural Services Department, Mayor's Office, actually put together the medallion. And it was actually done by Yamelia Duarte of San Miguel, New Mexico. She designed the markers, and they were then placed in the center of iron at Highlands University in Las Vegas, New Mexico. These last 3 medallions are done to honor our centenarians. And with that, I would like Chuy Martinez, Cultural Services Department, to present the first medallion to Tony Garcia of Albuquerque, New Mexico. And Chuy has been a great assistant and director at the Cultural Services Department, helping us to honor these centenarians. He's also continued to do the ongoing cultural services celebration that will occur here tonight at Old Town Plaza and throughout the weekend at the National Hispanic Cultural Center. Let's give Tony Garcia a great hand. Tony. Now, fitting that Rosemary Garcia of the National Hispanic Cultural Center, representing the Cultural Center, will be representing our next centenarian, Rose Zamora from Albuquerque. Rose. And of course, Chuy is holding up the medallion for you. And again, one of the last 3 in our city and our state that will be presented to these 3 great centenarios. And our last, and certainly not our least, representing the beautiful northern part of our state, the community of Taos, New Mexico, which I'm very proud of. My husband's family is from Peñasco, Vadito. So with that, we'd like to honor Cora Romero from Taos. And let's give them all a round of applause.